Hello, Nick family. Welcome to my channel, Dope Soul Sports Talk. If you haven't already, please subscribe and hit that notification button so you'll be notified anytime I go live or drop a video. Today, I'm going to talk about Obi and IQ, talk a little bit about this past season and what I'm looking forward to in the seasons to come. If you've heard me on MBK, you pretty much know my takes on IQ and Obi, but they've been modified a little bit. Keep in mind, I listen to the chat, I read the comments, I listen to my fellow panelists, and then sometimes I will modify my take based on that. I think when it comes to Obi and IQ and whether or not they can start in this league, I've modified my take a little bit. And specifically, when it comes to whether or not they can start for the Knicks next season, I've modified my take a little bit there as well. Let's get right into it. Let's start with IQ. Not much difference in his counting stats from last season to this season. Last year, in 19.4 minutes, he averaged about 11 and a half points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, shot 39.5% from the field, about 39% from three, and 89% from the free throw line. This year, a little bit more minutes, 23.1 minutes, probably part of it due to Kimber and Rose not playing um, a lot of games. I think Rose played 25 games, Kimber maybe about 37. He averaged 11.3 points, 3.2 rebounds, 3.5 assists, shot 39% from the field, 35% from three, 88% from the free throw line. The Knicks have not been very efficient. I think they have a number of players shooting 39, 40, 41%. Since the All-Star break, though, in 27 and a half minutes, he's averaged 16 points, 5 rebounds, about 5 assists, 43.6% from the field, 38.3% from three, and 85% from the free throw line. I think this season quickly has improved his defense. I noticed that during Summer League. He's a pretty good on ball defender. He's only 6'3, but his wingspan is about 6'8, 6'9. You would think he'd have a bit more steals, but in any event, he really fights over the screens, fights to get back into the play. His defense is pretty good. His playmaking has improved as well, and but it still needs to get better. And keep in mind when we talk about playmaking, we're not just talking about assists, right? He averaged 2 assists last year, 3.5 assists this year. Since the All Star break, about 4.8 assists. But when we're talking about playmaking, we're talking about creating opportunities for your teammates, right? IQ can pass to RJ, for example. RJ can hit the three, he gets an assist. I mean, is he playmaking? Right? I'm really talking about getting into the lane, for example, drawing the defense, opening up passing lanes, hitting your teammate for a wide open three, or if not wide open, a little more space than they would have normally get, right? Coming off the pick and roll, creating opportunities, easier opportunities for your teammates, maybe Mitch for the lob, things like that. I think he's getting better in that regard. Still not there yet. I think his decision making has to get better. His shot selection has to get better. And I think, particularly for IQ, and you could say this for most of the scoring shooting guards, shooting point guards, shoot first point guards in this league, is deciding when to call my own number and when to set up my teammates. Quickly is very confident. He believes he can hit any shot on the floor. You know, even if he's missed 5, 6, not really having a good shooting night, he believes the next one is going to go in. So players like that, it takes them some time to have that command of the game. When do I shoot? When do I take shots? When do I set up my teammates? He has to get better in that regard. I just want to talk a little bit about some weaknesses coming out of college. You know, one of the knocks was his playmaking. We talked about that. The other one was him finishing at the rim. So last year, he finished at the rim 56% of the time. This year, 62% of the time. But he didn't take a lot of attempts. Last year was just 39 attempts at the rim. This year, 78 attempts at the rim. Contrast that with 384 3-pointers, right? Excuse my dog. As far as the floater is concerned, last year he shot not just a floater, mid range, which for him is a floater. He he completed 37% of his mid-range shots last year for just 30th percentile, 39% this year, which was in the 46th percentile for his position, combo guard. But he took, a good amount. Last year he took 225 mid-range shots. This year he took 238 mid-range shots. He had a great floater in college. So it's coming around. What I like about the floater, even though he needs to become more efficient at it, is that he gets in the lane. And when he gets in the lane, he's a threat. That means they have to defend him. That opens up the passing lane for him to spray the ball out to his teammates, right? So he'll get better. He will get better with that. I'm pretty confident in that. Now, can he be a point guard in this league? In time, he can. He shores up his decision making, he shores up his shot selection. He gets better at, deciding when to shoot, when to set up his teammates. He might. Keep in mind though, when Quickly had those triple double games, RJ wasn't in the game, Randall wasn't in the game. He had free reign to run the team, shoot whenever he wanted. Other than Tibbs on the sideline screaming at him, none of his teammates were going to say you're taking too many shots. You put him in that starting lineup with RJ, and if Randall is still here, Randall, he has to defer. I don't think we're going to see the Quickly that we know. I don't think he's going to be as effective in that type of lineup. And that could be why Tibbs didn't start him, right? There was ample opportunity to with Kemba out and Rose out, opposed to starting Burks. But maybe that went into the decision making that he's not going to be the same player in the lineup. Another ball dominant guard in a lineup with RJ and Randall. We'll see. Can he start next season? Depends on how the Knicks construct the roster. If they get off of Randall and Fournier and Burks and Rose and Noel and bring back just these young players, right? Hopefully they don't bring back players that's also going to crowd those spots. Yeah, he can start. I don't think that's a team that's going to the playoffs or the play in, unless something, magical happens. But he can start on a team like that. You got IQ, RJ, Cam or Grimes, you got Obi, you got Mitch if he's re-signed. He can start on a team like that. How far they go, I'm not quite sure. You know, if the Knicks, for whatever reason, bring in Brunson, let's say they bring in Aiton, you know, he can start on a team like that as well, because you would think that Brunson and Aiton are going to be pretty strong anchors, right? Then you have Quickly maybe playing the off guard position. The point is, if you have a strong starting lineup, and Quickly is not being asked to do much, he can start. But if you're looking for him to be the main driver of a playoff team, I don't think he's there just yet. I think he needs a little more seasoning. Like I talked about, that decision making, that shot selection has to be better if you're going to start him, put together a playoff team, and then start him. But again, if you're going young, start him. Yeah, definitely you can start him. Let's move on to Obi Toppin. Let's talk a little bit about him. Last season in just 11 minutes, 4 points, 2 rebounds, half an assist, shot almost 50% from the field, 31% almost from three, 73% from the free throw line. This year, six, more minutes. So in 17.1 minutes a game, 9 points, 3.7 rebounds, one assist, about 31%. That's a mistake. He shot better than 30% from the field. He shot 0.8% from the 3-point line, definitely shot more than 30% from the field, and shot 75.8% from the free throw line. Now, for me, even before he took off toward the end of the season, I thought he could be more than a rim runner. You just saw flashes of him in the post. Unlike last season when he couldn't even post up a point guard, he was getting pushed out. You saw flashes of him posting up. You saw flashes of him putting the ball on the floor, getting into the lane for a mid-range shot. He didn't do it a lot, I know, but you saw flashes of it, and you thought, if he continued to work on his game, I think he's going to be more than a rim runner. Toward the end of the season, he was still a rim runner, but you saw the three-point shot coming around. Remember, early in the season, he shot like 11%, 18%, right? He got it up to 30.8% toward the end because he was shooting lights out from the three-point line. So you saw the shooting stroke coming back, him putting the ball on the floor, gave you hope that he's going to be more than a rim runner. Coming out of college, his strengths were his athleticism, his explosiveness, his shooting potential. He shot 39% from three on 2.6 3-point shots a game, and his efficiency. And all of those translated, right? The athleticism, the explosiveness, the shooting percentage, his efficiency have translated to the NBA. Playmaking and versatility was also a strength. We haven't seen that yet. The playmaking, he has a good feel for the game, but we haven't seen the playmaking yet, I think, because of his role. Right now, his role is to finish, right? But I do think he has playmaking skills. Versatility, I'm not quite sure. Does he have the footwork to play the three? I don't think so. Does he have the strength to play the five? I don't think so. I think power forward is his position. In terms of the weaknesses coming out of college, it was his defensive IQ, mental lapses, lateral quickness or lack thereof, and poor defensive footwork. And it's still the same, right? The defensive IQ needs to get better. He has mental lapses. His lateral quickness is not there, even at the power forward position, right? Where he's defending in a more, constrained space. You still see that that's a weakness for him, and that includes his footwork. So he has to get better in that regard. I think he has earned more minutes. I know fans wanted to see him play more minutes this season, but how? As bad as Randall has played, as inefficient as he was, he averaged 20 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. Him and Obi Toppin play the same position. Where's he going to get more minutes from? You know, Even if you play, Randall 30 minutes, that only leaves 18. So going forward, the Knicks have to figure this out. Do they go small ball? It's not really something Tibbs likes to do. He likes his rim protection, right? If you play one of them at the five, that means Mitch, if he's back, or your center, whoever he is, will get less minutes so that you can play the small ball lineup. Maybe you could play one of them at the three, right? I don't think you could play Obi at the three. Randall, I think he can defend the three, but it's just his effort and his defensive engagement, and whether that's something that he'll be locked in to do for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes a game, however long they choose to go with this small ball lineup. Offensively, I don't think Randall can play the three. He's I don't think he's a good 3-point shooter, and I don't think he's a good 2-point shooter. As far as the mid range is concerned. So, maybe if you're doing it for 3, 4, 5 minutes, maybe you could play, Randall at the three. But this is an issue. I think Obi again has earned more minutes, and the Knicks have to figure out how they can get him um, more minutes. I thought this year there was times in which you could have played him extended minutes. Those games in which Randall imploded and emotionally and mentally weren't there, those were games Obi should have got more minutes. Those games in which Randall looked disinterested and disengaged and half effort, I think those were games in which Obi should have gotten more minutes. Now, you could say there were games in which Obi was shooting well, 4 for 4, 5 for 5, 5 for 7, whatever it is, and Tibbs should not have brought Randall back in the game. That's a tough call. That's a tough call. Now, if Randall was playing poorly, not having, it just wasn't his night, and now Obi is going off, then yeah, I do think, you extend his minutes. So again, that's something the Knicks have to work out. If they move on from Randall, the question becomes, like I talked about with IQ, can Obi start? And I think the answer is the same. It depends on how you're constructing this roster. If you're going young, absolutely Obi can start. Because in a situation like that, you're not looking to make the playoffs. If something magical happens and you do make the playoffs, that's great. But it's not something you're looking to do with a lineup of IQ and RJ and Obi and Mitch or Sims. Think about how tough this Eastern Conference is. It's going to be hard for them to unseed one of those teams, right? So, yeah, if you're not really looking to make the playoffs, he can start. And then if you put together a strong team, he can start there as well. Like I talked about, you got Brunson at the 1, RJ at 2, Aiton, I'm just saying, hypothetically speaking, at the 5. Absolutely, you could start Obi at the 4 because he's in a prescribed role, right? You're not, whatever he gives you is great. You're not counting on his points game in and game out, for the success of the team. So in a lineup like that, he absolutely can start. So that's what I have on IQ and OB. Those guys are in the gym right now. They're workers. They will be better next season. If they start, fine. But if they don't, what they bring off that bench is really going to help the Knicks. The Knicks have their work cut out for them. I'm not sure if they're running it back. I'm not sure if they're trying to improve the team. I'm not sure, like we talked about, if they're going to, move on from the vets and just start the young players. If that was what they choose to do, I'm rocking with the Knicks. I know you are all day every day. This is where you can find me on Twitter. Here's my email. Monday nights, I do Queen's Court on a Nothing But Nick channel. Wednesdays, I do the crossover with my co host Tony Crow, also on a Nothing But Nick's channel. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to this channel. I'm out, ladies and gentlemen.